Welcome to the Work System podcast, where we help entrepreneurs make more and work less using systems. And I'm your host, Josh Fonger. And today we've got a special guest, Anton Kraly. Anton Kraly has been a serial entrepreneur for more than a decade, finding success building and selling multiple seven-figure businesses. In 2013, he started Dropship Lifestyle to teach people how to create profitable e-commerce businesses by leveraging high-ticket dropshipping. Voted best e-commerce course by Shopify in 2018, Dropship Lifestyle is now the top online e-commerce coaching program and has helped more than 10,000 students in 25 countries to find freedom through entrepreneurship. All right, Anton, I'm excited to have you on the show today and really dive in deep. Before we do, give us the backstory. How did you get into this line of work?
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for having me on. Happy to be here and be sharing. But started back in business when I first got out of school way back in 2006. Graduated from SUNY Albany, Upstate New York, and bought a business, which was a delivery route for a bakery in Brooklyn. I'm from Long Island. So basically I bought the rights to drive into Brooklyn every day, pick up boxes of cookies, and then sell them to grocery stores around where I'm from. And I bought that because that was the only business I could afford back then, with all the money I had saved up working odd jobs and whatnot. Luckily, probably a few months after I bought the business, a book came out, the 4 Hour Workweek. That book introduced me to e-commerce, discussed how you can make a store for $29 and how you didn't have to be technical and basically anybody could do it. So I built my first ever website, which was selling cookies to people that had moved out of New York and missed New York bakeries. So that was like my foot in the door, and found success with that. Realized if I could sell boxes of cookies online, why can't I sell bigger products and more expensive products? So very quickly started to try all different stores, selling all different product types. And as things progressed, they kind of just got more and more expensive to highest order we ever got for like one product was around 5,000. Typical average order value on one of our stores is about $1,000, and been trying to get better at it ever since then. But that's how I got into this.
Wow, well, very neat. So that book was kind of the gave you the confidence to go for it and make this shift.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But before that, I thought if you wanted to build a website, you either had to be some genius that went to school for coding, or you had to invest six figures with a company full of geniuses that went to school for coding. And that was like, this is something that really anybody can do if they want to kind of play with it and figure it out. But definitely.
So how has e-commerce changed over the last 10 years? Because you've been in the game for a long time. So yep. I'm kind of curious is like what it used to be like, what's it like now? And maybe, where do you see it going? Because a lot of people in the audience have online companies, or at least they have traditional businesses with an online aspect. And, hearing it from you might be a good perspective.
Sure. So back then, I figured out my first online business in a weekend and was able to make it work. And the reason I was able to make it work is because there was a lot less competition. So back then I had a Yahoo store and I ran Google AdWords. And 10 years ago, Google AdWords were a lot cheaper than they are now. With that being said, in 10 years, people are going to look back and say, wow, in 2019, AdWords were so cheap. So there's still, you always want to be doing stuff while you can. But back then it was easier to get your foot in the door. You didn't really need to do as much research. You didn't need to hire a company to either train you or run your ads. Like I said, I figured it out by clicking around in the computer and was able to do it profitably. So competition has picked up on two sides of it. One, on how many people are advertising the same product types, and two, on how many different brands there are making all these different things. So basically, like the main way things have evolved is you have to get better at what you do. There's a few different areas in our business where we always look to get better. One of them is where we're spending money and how we're spending it. So trying to have our ads as efficient as possible. In the beginning, we were barely even tracking anything because it seemed like overall, if we spent more, we made more. So we didn't know what platform or what ad or what campaign was working. Now you don't want to do that. You want to know where every dollar goes and what that brings in or doesn't. We also focus more and more on the products we're selling, and not just having great products, but always having like the newest versions and the newest product lines. So let's just say, for example, I sold outdoor furniture and I sold for 20 different outdoor furniture manufacturers. A big thing is, let's just say every spring they release new product lines. We want to be the first one to make sure we have the newest stuff. We want to make sure our product pages are the best out there. Some ways we do that are just by giving the customer or the visitor everything they need. So as many high quality images as we can get, all the features, all the specs, all the information on shipping, returns, warranty, warranties. So trying to stay ahead of the game. And then probably the biggest thing that's changed beyond those is the lifetime value of a customer. So, it used to be really just, run ads, people come to your site, try to get them to buy right away, and they buy, okay, great. If they come back, that's good. If not, more people are coming anyway. But what we've been doing, and still for a long time now, but like probably the last 5, 6, 7 years, is focusing on when somebody comes through our doors, meaning visits our website, we are trying to build a relationship, obviously by selling them stuff, but also by becoming authorities in different spaces that we enter. So that means more content marketing. That means more emails that aren't purely promotional. That means more posts on social that are either trying to make the prospect laugh or give them some value, but just developing that more long-term relationship.
That's really fascinating. I've been doing business coaching for about 10 years now, and I've got to see this life cycle too. And it used to be all the online companies would, these skyrocket, and these people who really didn't know much about business were making a lot of money. And I would just tell them, it's going to become more it's going to be professionalized. Like all the tricks and the secrets and the knowledge and the training that these traditional business owners have been learning over the last 100, 200 years, it's going to find its way over to the online companies. It's not going to be so easy. And it sounds like you're kind of echoing the same thing, is that those who've invested in the right training, like you offer, the right skill sets, are the ones that are lasting, and those who just treat it like a hobby are getting in more and more trouble.
Yeah, and faster. So it used to be even some of those companies that tried the shortcuts would maybe last for a few years. And now it's like some of them might pop up, but you know how it is now with having social media and just having all these different review sites. Like if you're not running a legitimate business from the beginning, you don't have a chance. So yeah, you got to be in it for the right reasons. And if somebody, especially if you're a new business, or even if you're a traditional business that's going online, you really do have to focus on every time somebody gives you money by giving them the best experience possible. Because if you don't, things spread really quickly in both ways, right? If you give someone a positive experience, it's easier than ever to get them to send you a video testimonial or images of the product you sent them, or just some great piece of content you can use on your website. And it's just as easy, if not easier, if you don't give them a great experience, to have them tell the whole world. So it works both ways.
Yeah, that's one thing that the internet does, is definitely it makes things more volatile and faster.
Yes,
that's for sure. Well, that's interesting. So what do you see 10 years from now? So if people have, whether a traditional company or an online company, what are some things that they should maybe be thinking about if they want to get online or stay online, or the things that really they should be investing in?
Yeah, I think becoming more and more specialized. So after our first few years in business, we kind of went that way of building stores and building brands around specific product types. So not just selling like one product, but a product type. And then once we're in there, once we prove the concept, really focusing on positioning ourselves as the experts and as the authorities. So that's, it's shown in many ways. It's shown in how our product pages look, on the information that's shared. It's shown on content throughout the site, whether that be in a buying guide or on the blog. Even the way that we position live chat, for example. Let's just say I was selling that outdoor furniture. It wouldn't just say live chat. It would say something like speak with an outdoor furniture specialist, something like that. So when the person comes to you, they're most likely they're there for a reason, and you want your whole site to be themed around that. That's a big reason why, like, even companies like Amazon, which if they're allowed to, I think they will try to eat the whole market, and we'll see if they get there. But that's one reason why we're able to be in business and really still thrive with companies like Amazon. It's because if you go there and you want to call them and ask them, I don't know, what kind of cushion you should get in your backyard in Florida that gets sun 300 days a year, you're not going to be getting that much specialized advice. But if you have the site that specializes in that type of thing, you can not only have that on your website, you can have that live chat, you could have that phone support, and you can actually help people make more informed buying decisions. And I think that's only going to be more and more necessary, because really in the beginning, we didn't do much like that at all. We would always try to build up our product pages so that customers had the answers to what we thought they would ask. But now we take it a step further, and we're trying to proactively just provide useful and helpful information in as many places as we can, whether that be product pages, blog, buying guides, Facebook, YouTube, really anywhere it makes sense for the specific brand.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It is. It's more work. So that, yeah, how things change, it's more work invested. Whereas it used to be just like strictly, and it still is a numbers game as far as like, we want to like, we're willing to invest X to make Y. Now it's like, we're willing to invest X, but instead of X going straight to Google Ads, it's like, we're going to put this percentage into Google Ads. We're going to put this percentage into the person creating the content. We're going to put this percentage into maybe Facebook ads promoting the content and building the audience that way. So it does take more than it used to, but that, that's one of the big ways that it has changed. Because if you're not going to do it, like the truth is, somebody else will. So it's up to you basically as a business owner. Like, do you want to be the person that is kind of the authority, again, trying to claim that spot, or just another store that someone might find and maybe will buy from? So, and those are some things as far as like the content side. There's also a whole bunch of stuff that any online business should do on what I call the usability side. And what I mean there is just making it as easy as possible for somebody to buy from you. There's so many websites that people, it's maybe as a business owner, you maybe you pay to have it built, or you build it and you think like it looks great and it works great. But if you actually like watch what people do when they come to your website, which we do, we use a tool called Lucky Orange, and it like tracks people's mice on the computer screen so you can see where they're moving. A lot of times, people will have like in their header menu of their e-commerce store, under their logo will be like a link to their Facebook and their Instagram and their YouTube. And it's like, you don't want that there. If someone's on your e-commerce store and they found you searching for an outdoor sofa, you don't want them to click Facebook and then next thing they know, see a friend's post and leave. So, trying to keep the process on the website as clean as possible. Some other things, like I mentioned, are trying to give them all the things that they might need to know on the product page. So even like our shipping and returns policy, we have tabbed product pages. So like a tab for description, a tab for shipping, a tab for returns, a tab for warranty, a tab for like free bonus gifts if we give them. So all things, again, to keep them where we want them and to where they probably want to be. And then even from there, as far as usability thing, how fast is the site loading? Because we all think like, I on my home on my Google Fiber connection and I went to my website and it loads fast, but you have to think of the people that are on their cell phones on the train on the way to work and they click your ad and nothing happens for 3 seconds and they leave. So always making sure it's optimized for speed. Again, more work, but so important. And then giving customers as many checkout options as possible. Whereas it used to be, we would have, the main credit card companies like, yeah, we'll take MasterCard, Visa, Amex, Discover. But now it's like, yeah, we'll take Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, PayPal Credit, Klarna for payment terms. We'll take, we've taken Bitcoin before. We don't feature that, but we'll take Bitcoin. We'll take Amazon payments. We'll take Apple Pay. We'll take Google Pay. And the good thing about that, because that definitely, I could see how that would sound overwhelming if you don't take any of that yet. The platform that we use for our e-commerce stores is called Shopify. They have like 800,000 stores on their platform now, so they're massive. But they basically make it as easy as clicking a couple buttons and you can accept all those payment options.
So what is the, because you mentioned failure and I'm seeing so many different opportunities for you to fail in this kind of business. Yeah. What is the most common reason? So, I mean, I've got a client right now that sells covers for outdoor furniture. I've got another client that is producing foot products. He's a podiatrist, like some kind of a foot lotion. I've got someone else who's private labeling like fluids for cars. So like there's a lot of different companies I'm working with right now that do this kind of thing. What is the most likely warning sign that they're going to fail, and what can you kind of head off before that happens?
So there, like you said, there's a lot of different things. So there's so many variables. One thing that I see frequently when people do come to me for advice is they're trying to sell products that aren't that expensive, or that maybe are a little bit expensive but don't have margins built in. So the thing with the way that I run stores now, and I have since I got out of the cookie business, is I focus on items that are typically at least $200. Again, ideally, our average order value is $1,000 or more. And we also try to maintain a net profit of between like 25 and 30%. And some people will hear that and they'll think like, okay, if I find a company that makes a desk, my cost of the desk should be $750 and I'll sell it for $1,000. And that's not it. Like I say 25%, the desk might be like $400 and you sell it for $1,000 and you offer free shipping that costs $175. And then you have $100 left over for ads and your 2.9% processing fee. So not having enough margin per sale, I think is a killer, because if you are not making money every time somebody checks out on your website, like, how are you going to afford to pay somebody to help you make great content and distribute it? How are you going to pay for ads? How are you going to get anybody to ever find you? So that's a big thing, especially now, like where we're at. And for anybody that's maybe more into the e-commerce space already, they're probably aware that like drop shipping direct from China is a huge trend right now. That's not something I do. It's not something I recommend, because we sell products from China, but we have them imported first. But most of the time when people are drop shipping straight from there, they're selling these inexpensive items, maybe $20, $30, $40 orders. They're trying to pay Facebook for clicks and sales. And then again, like maybe you get a sale for $40. If your cost of goods sold is even 10, shipping is another 10, then you have $20 that you have to make money from, that you have to pay transaction fees from, that you have to pay for support. If you have an employee, that you have to pay for ads. It's almost impossible. So I think the biggest thing is not actually being able to make money even when you're getting sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think that's a great point, even for those who aren't selling online. And I see this with a lot of my clients, is we'll run through the numbers and there's not enough money there. And so maybe they've grown their business through word of mouth and referrals and just doing quality work. And I say, well, you're making okay money, but you haven't paid any sales team yet. You haven't paid any marketing. There's no advertising, no branding. So the numbers are okay, but all of this needs to be spent on that. So there's not enough money there for you to actually make profit as well. And so you have that equation already built in. I like that. That's important.
Yeah. And then what people will say then too, they're like, oh, I'll make money when I scale, when I sell 1,000 units a day. And it's like, if you've ever sold 1,000 units a day, you probably are aware of how many people it takes to manage, your inquiries and the phone calls and the live chats and the emails. So keep your margin, make sure you can make money if your business takes off. I mean, sounds like common sense, but I see it very often that people are already moving in a direction where they're starting to build something that there's just the money's not there no matter what happens. You could still save those businesses. You could add in higher ticket products, but do it sooner than later would be my advice.
What are your thoughts on lost leaders? So you acquire the customer, you sell them something, and then they start to like you, and then you move them to a different platform to then sell your higher margin items and get them within your world afterwards. Is that a viable strategy?
It is. It's not really what we do. I've seen it work in plenty of businesses. It doesn't really make sense for a lot of ours. If we have a product like that, we'll go back to the outdoor stuff because that's what we're going with. So let's just say I had the outdoor furniture set and I sold a package and it was sofa and 2 chairs and it was $2,500. Maybe for that, right? Like it would be hard to have, an entry level product for that, right? But what I would do is if there were some less expensive products, maybe like, I don't know, a candle that kept away mosquitoes or some kind of like protectant spray for the fabric. I still do look for opportunities like that, but instead of trying to sell them first, I give them away to people that buy from me. So I'd say, okay, if you buy this from us, we're going to ship you this protective spray. We're going to ship you this scented mosquito repellent candle and whatever it is. So we try to incorporate stuff like that, but more as an incentive to get people to choose us over our competition. Because again, our model is drop shipping, and that means stuff that I sell, there's probably at a minimum 4, 5, 6 other stores selling the same stuff.
Okay, so you have to differentiate with the bonuses. So what do you do about copycatters or competition who do exactly the same thing as you? What are the key ways to differentiate in this kind of a business?
Yep. So the good thing is that the companies that we sell for, let's just say you wanted to sell for the same companies, you can, but the way it works is we have direct relationships with them. So that's the way that would work with you as well. We don't use any like middlemen or any fulfillment centers. If you found supplier ABC and you wanted to sell their stuff, you would find their website, you would call them and say, hi, I'm calling from this store. I want to sell your stuff, and start that conversation. So the good thing is like the good brands, the brands that care about their products also care about their retailers, because that's how they make money. They focus on making great products and then having companies like ours bring them sales. So for like direct copycats, that's not really a thing. If somebody blatantly rips off anything unique that we've done, then we would say, hey, supplier ABC, this website has taken all this content, and they would either give that company a warning and have them change it, or they would just tell them they're not authorized to sell the stuff anymore. So that stuff you don't have to worry about if you're working with the right suppliers. With that being said, if you wanted to sell the same products and make your own descriptions and again, make your own bonuses and do all that, there's nothing stopping you. So the way that we try to stand out, kind of some of the things we've already talked about at different points, but having unique bonuses like that, trying to give the user all the information they could have when they're with us, giving them all of those payment options so that, if they wanted to pay it off over 6 months interest free, we'd make sure we're providing that easily for them, to make sure that if somebody calls us, somebody answers the phone to answer any questions, to make sure, live chat's already always open, to make sure if somebody's on our product page for, outdoor set 1, 2, 3, but maybe, there's something that people commonly say like, oh, I wish this was bigger. Then we say on that product page too, like, hey, make sure you check the dimensions here are only 80 inches long. You might be interested in sofa set, 4, 5, 6. So things like that, just trying to be the best retailer. And the way I think about it is same thing as like a traditional offline business. If you were shopping for outdoor furniture locally and you went into 2 different stores, maybe one sales associate was so helpful, guided you in the right direction, just was there to facilitate the sale. And, and the other person, you went in and they were just maybe trying to hard sell you on something like, oh yeah, I don't know, it's just cheap now. So just you buy it. Like you can get it now and we'll have it shipped. Like you'd go with the one that provided more value. So same mindset. It does vary industry to industry as far as what we're offering. But I really believe like whether like the brand, I should say, the e-commerce company that offers the most value to the customer will win the majority of the time. That value could be in terms of content and advice, or in terms of gifts, or in terms of money off, or whatever it is. But just find ways to provide more value than anybody else, and you'll get most of the sales.
So what do the clients that you work with or coach, what are the ones who are like, making millions of dollars do differently than the ones that just struggle and flounder and eventually fizzle out? What are the kind of the big differentiators? Is it their mindset? Is it their niche they pick?
At the beginner level, it's definitely mindset. If someone's brand new, because a lot of it is relationships. So the supplier relationships, getting approved to sell certain product types, getting good pricing terms. So if you're afraid to pick up the phone and call different companies, that's a big sticking point for a lot of people. Just kind of a mental block. After that, once people get past that, they get the ball rolling. The thing I see very often is people kind of get comfortable, right? So let's just say somebody it's their first online business. They're building a business. Maybe they're doing $50,000 a month in sales after 6 months. Maybe they're netting 20%. So they're making $10,000 net profit a month on 50K total. And they're like, this is amazing. And they are now in this cycle for a few months. And again, they're working a few hours a day and they're like, this is perfect. And they stick there. And they don't want to spend more, and they don't want to do anything different because they feel like they have it all figured out. When people get into that kind of rhythm, eventually it'll taper off. So a big thing, again, once the ball is rolling, you have to grow. So usually what that means is you have to spend more money. And again, people find that really difficult. Now, I don't believe you should be going to your bank and saying, hey, I need some money to invest. I believe, take some money out of your profit, put it back in. But if you get too comfortable with where you're at, eventually there'll be nothing left. Your business will drop by 50% and you'll just think like, well, I'm not doing anything different. What happened? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. You're not doing anything different. So always focus on growth.
That's so true. I've seen that. And I'm sure you've seen it more than I have, but I see it all the time. So what do you think about people want people to invest more on specialization or diversification? What is your tactic? So let's say you're doing 10 grand a month for 6 months in a row profit. What should they do? Should they just keep putting more money in the same thing or diversify?
Yeah, the way that we typically do it is take like 10% of, let's just say I was going to spend 10 grand a month on ads. Mm-hmm. I would take 1,000 of that and I would put it into something that it's not proven. Maybe we don't even know anybody else that's doing it. Nobody's really talking about it. We haven't tried it yet. So we take 90% into what is proven and then 10% kind of like experimental. If it doesn't work at all, then it's fine. It was learning experience. If we break even, then okay, let's try to improve it. Maybe it's just, does amazing from right away and we start to spend more, but that's what I would recommend. And then that money that they're reinvesting, again, most of it, I would want to see them put into what's working. So if they're running Google ads, specifically, most of what we do is called Google shopping ads. And if they're doing that, and if that's what's bringing them 40,000 out of their 50,000, then you gotta, take a risk again. Like people take risks in the beginning and then again, they fall into that comfort zone and they think they don't have to keep doing it. But that's where I would say most of your money should be going back into. Don't just double your budget the next month, but maybe bump it up 20%, monitor the numbers, see what happens. Maybe the next month you bump it up 20% again and just keep doing that and keep monitoring it until it doesn't work anymore. Then maybe you scale back, maybe you try something new, but that's the way that we do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's the exact same thing for a traditional business owner as well, is that if you found something that works, the owner's job still is R&D, innovation. You have to always be looking. If once you stop doing that, that's when you're moving towards the death spiral that you don't see yet. And so that's just a critical thing, especially the dynamic nature of online business as opposed to traditional business. I mean, if you got, I got a client who does oil changes. Well, there's going to probably be oil changes for the foreseeable future. Yep. But for these other industries, they're dynamic. They're moving. Well, this is interesting. So so let's say that you have a traditional business, and I'm just thinking about this because my wife's, she's going to get a haircut. The gals that she works with, or she gets her haircut with, they've created a whole line of, shampoos and all this hair stuff. It's like premium, organic, whatever. It's like expensive stuff, right? And they made it themselves. Would you recommend someone like that to say, hey, you're selling this locally? This is in North Scottsdale. Would you recommend that they just keep selling it locally and just high margins, high profit, no marketing expense, no sales expense? Or would you say, hey, you know what? This is a really good product. You should probably just put an e-commerce store. So someone like that, would you recommend they do that?
I would. The way that I would recommend they do it, being they have the product already, is building, first of all, like a brand website if they don't have one already. And that one could feature their products, tell the story, and then also have a section where people can inquire about maybe selling it for them. So, maybe somebody goes there, they get the product, they love it, they tell their friend has an online store and they want to sell it. So make it easy for people to find it that way and reach out if they want to resell. But what I would do if I was them or if I was trying to sell for them is I'd also build another website that was focused all around hair care. So I'm not sure, I know different products that they use. So maybe different blow dryers and curling irons and straighteners and all of those. And then on that website, I would try to find the brands that had the kind of premium priced ones. And I would reach out to them and I would say, calling from this website, we'd love to sell your products. We know they're great quality. And I would try to get approved to sell for, let's just say, the top 20 different expensive hair care products, like the physical products. Uh-huh. And what I would do is establish these drop shipping relationships with them. And then I would have a website that sold all their products. And on that website, I would really feature that brand of their own actual shampoos and conditioners and all that. So that does a couple things. One is you're able to make money by selling the best products in your industry already that people already want. And then you're getting the traffic from all of these brand names, model numbers, SKU numbers of the best products. And then when they're on your website, you're going to be having them opt into your email list, buy products. You're going to have them see the sidebar, the header, and in all these spots on your website, you can be having either promotions, maybe giveaways, and just different ways to promote your own brand. So that works really, really, really well when you're on the private label model. Again, you wouldn't make it I don't know, if their hair product was called best hair care product, it wouldn't be besthaircareproduct.com that had all these other brands then their thing. They would have that website as a standalone. Then they'd have an entirely separate entity, which was, besthaircareproducts.com that again had everything else listed and had their brand in the mix. So the visitors to that website would not know that company, was the website. It would be indirectly promoting it. And again, it's a great way to capitalize on a bunch of other really highly searched products, especially if they are the best in your industry. You're instantly associating yourself with all these other brands. So it's a great way to jumpstart that.
Interesting. And also I think the idea that I kind of caught in the beginning is if you are a developer of a high quality product, let's say you've got a physical business and you've created a product, I'm thinking of my podiatrist trying to get the special foot product. It doesn't mean you have to, build all this stuff. You might just need to set up relationships for someone else to build this stuff for you. You keep doing your core business and the online business can kind of get built on the side. You just collect a percentage and keep your life simple because it's getting more and more complicated. It sounds like by the month here. Now, one of the things you mentioned was about brand positioning, and several of my clients I work with who kind of sell commodity products on the fact that they, maybe the big differentiator between them and someone else is just their brand, the perceived value of the brand, even if everything else is the same. And I know an element of that is, possibly celebrity aspect or celebrity endorsement. Do you ever work in those situations where they
not no big names or anything like that, but call it influencer marketing or whatnot. Since the beginning, we've been always reaching out to different publications, whether that be blogs or YouTube channels or just podcasts, content websites, and looking for opportunities to collaborate. A lot of the time it's through traditional blogs, like other people's blogs that have followings, where we're either paying for a sponsored post, maybe we're giving them a product that they're giving away to their audience in exchange for an article. But there's just so much value in that in multiple ways. Like you'll get the direct sales and the direct referrals, but the biggest thing that we get from it, even more than initial bump, is the long-term effect in terms of how Google sees our sites. Obviously, that's building more and more links to us, and these links are coming from some of the biggest sites in our different industries. So that's like a bonus. If that was all we got, it would be worth it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so there's the SEO aspect as well. So this kind of I got two other big questions, and then we'll wrap up here. I know you probably have to get going. So I've got 13-year-olds. I've got 3 boys, and my oldest is now kind of getting, planting the seeds about starting an online company, maybe a drop shipping business, and he's reading a few books on it. He's reading the book Ask and Choose by Ryan Levesque. I think I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. But what would the recommendations be for entrepreneurs listening to this, and maybe they want to get their kids involved or they want to start a side hustle or side business? What are the steps they should go through, and how do they choose a niche and get started?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great business for anyone of any age, but what's good about it for someone younger is you don't need a lot of money. Like even when I started when I was 21, my first business cost me $29. That was the cash investment. And I got $100 voucher for Google Ads, and that's how my paid ads started. So I think, a great thing is a lot of it is just learning. A lot of it is doing. What I would, recommend for anybody starting is try to find something where you could find products that already have good reviews. I don't think anybody should drop ship from China, so don't look into that model. Kind of get away from that. Again, there's plenty of good products that come from China. We sell a lot of them, but you don't want that long shipping time. You don't want unhappy customers. So try to find things people already like that are in stock in warehouses in the States, if that's where you're doing business. If you're doing business in Australia, look for suppliers in Australia. If you're in the UK, look for suppliers in the UK. Just makes the whole business run a lot more smooth. And again, when you're first starting, maybe take that $100 that Google still gives you to start, spend $10 a day for 10 days. And by then, if you don't have a sale, you should still have a bunch of data that you can make better decisions on. I also would say focus on the more expensive products because it makes everything else easier. You don't have to sell a lot to make even a side income. You can have a sale every few days and actually have a pretty big business. So something more expensive, again, quality products, start small and put in time rather than money so you can learn it yourself.
Okay. Very good. And then what scares you about the future of this? I mean, what is the this kind of the end game? Because there's worldwide competition now. Everyone has access to the internet. People are willing to work for $3 an hour, whereas people in the US need to actually make a living. And there's also the fact that there could be big companies who consolidate. I don't know if it's true or not, but Amazon could essentially pick off all the winners and just private label or buy them out or just make their own versions of every single thing that sells. So where do you see, and maybe you have a positive outlook, but where do you see 10 years from now when this thing really, the internet kind of equalizes the whole world?
Yeah. So it's tough because like 10 years ago, if I would have made a guess where things would be now, I'd be so off. What I'd say is I do think you're going to need to always get better. So anybody that stops trying to learn or that stops investing, again, for me, it's like 10% of our resources, whether that's money or our team or everything. So always try to learn something new, see where it takes you. I don't know which thing will work and which won't. That's why it's like experimental. So always be learning because we don't know what's going to work yet. And the biggest elephant in the room type thing would be Amazon. And what I'll say about them right now, where we're at, is luckily for us, we do sell expensive products. We sell large products. And a lot of the stuff we sell is not Amazon friendly at this point. Reason being because their fees for big items and heavy items, if you wanted to have them in Amazon's warehouses, just it's not economical. It wouldn't make sense. So it's not there yet. So I'm sure, again, if Jeff Bezos has his way, he'll figure it out and they'll take everything. I think the government probably will break that up before it gets to that point, because it's maybe 5 years down the road if I had to guess. But if the government doesn't break it up and again, they figure it out in a way that it's cost effective, then maybe we have to figure out a way to either work with Amazon or find something else unique that we could do. I don't think Amazon's ever going to be offering that expertise, that type of customer service, simply because of the amount of people they have buying from them every second. So, focusing on that like we are now, and hoping that Amazon doesn't try to eat the big, heavy, expensive item business anytime soon.
Uh-huh. That's good. That's very interesting. So what's one thing, Anton, that you want to leave the audience with, a question I have not asked you that you think really the audience should hear?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you have a traditional business, I think, getting online might sound intimidating, or maybe even you might think it's not worthwhile, but there's a ton of opportunity. Like we talked about in the beginning, people say, oh, you got started 10 years ago. You were so lucky. People in 10 years will be saying that about now. So just, you could hire somebody, you can get a consultant, you could hire an employee. People could figure this out, and it's well worth the resources. Also, like we talked about briefly with that hair example of selling other people's products, maybe that's something you never thought about before, but my advice would be do that on a whole new business, a whole new website, and incorporate your either private labeled products or your products you manufacture, whatever it is, bring them onto that. It'll get you more traffic. You'll be able to direct everyone to your stuff. And like we've been talking about, things on the internet happen so fast that it could be very realistic to say that in 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, if it takes a while to get things going, it could totally change your business. So start making that push. It's well worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So where can they find you, Anton, if they want more information or they want help with their e-commerce store?
Yeah, dropshiplifestyle.com would be the best. If you go there, I've been publishing a new video there pretty much every week for the past 5 years. And I have a podcast at ecommercelifestyle.com. But if you're interested in any of the programs, just go to dropshiplifestyle.com and you'll see everything listed there as well.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, Anton, I want to thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time today with this, with all this information. I got as always, a whole page full of notes here, and I'm going to share this with my son about what he should do with his business, and of course, share this with my consulting clients. And thanks everyone for tuning in today to today's podcast, this live podcast. Tune in next week. We're going to be interviewing another business expert like Anton or one of my previous clients, and talking about a tool, a technique, a skill that they have so that you can make more and work less. And also, we're doing a special giveaway right now. We're going to be giving away one of Sam Carpenter's books, my business partner, Work the System, right there behind me if you're watching the video. We're going to be giving away a signed copy next week based on the comments from you. So share the biggest win, the biggest takeaway, the biggest tip that you learned from this podcast on any platform that you're on, whether it's iTunes, YouTube, it's on our website. Wherever you're listening or watching this, leave us a comment, take a screenshot, send it to info@workthesystem.com, and then you'll be in the running for the free book. All right, everybody. I'll catch you next week.